Ma'am, are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. I'm so sorry. Oh, don't worry about it, Ma'am. Let me help you to your seat. Thank you for standing up for me, dear. But I'm afraid you might get in trouble for what you did. That woman looked rich. What if she gets you fired? Vian smiled gently, her words laced with bitter resolve. Don't worry about it, Ma'am. I actually know that woman from before. I'm not sure if she remembers me, but I sure remember her. After helping the elderly woman settle back into her booth, Vian returned to her station. She was one of the waitresses at a busy American diner. The woman, now seated with a soft smile on her lips, looked out the window and whispered to herself, I knew it. That girl didn't deserve my son, but thankfully I've found the one who does, and to think she was right here in my restaurant all along. A commotion suddenly erupted on the other side of the diner a few minutes ago. What the? Screamed Nancy, a woman in her late 20s, as she recoiled from an older woman who had accidentally spilled soup and orange juice on her expensive white dress. I'm so sorry, miss. I didn't mean to, the older woman exclaimed, panicking. She had been walking carefully while carrying a tray of soup and juice when Nancy suddenly stood up from her table. The movement startled the older woman, causing the tray to slip from her hands and crash to the floor. Soup splashed, glass shattered, and Nancy's high heels were drenched. Let me clean that! The elderly woman grabbed a napkin and reached toward Nancy. Don't touch me! You're disgusting! You smell old! Nancy yelled, pushing the woman away. Look at my dress! This juice ruined it! She shouted furiously, glaring at the orange stain now spreading across the fabric. The elderly woman shrank under the heat of her rage. Patrons began to watch the scene unfold. Among them was Vian, who had just served a nearby table. Hearing the commotion, she rushed over. Ma'am, is there a problem? Vian asked calmly. Are you blind? Can't you see what that hag did to my designer dress? Vian gestured toward the restroom. Ma'am, the washroom's just this way. Nancy's face contorted with anger. This dress costs more than your life. Vian chuckled and said, Well then, ma'am, if that stain doesn't come out, you can have my life. Sound good? The entire restaurant fell silent. Nancy stared at her, stunned. Someone in the back stifled a laugh, perhaps even the elderly woman. Nancy scowled, muttered something under her breath, and stormed toward the restroom. Vian turned to the diners. Everything's all right now, folks. Sorry for the disturbance. She helped the elderly woman up again. Are you sure you're okay, ma'am? Yes, I am. Thank you again. But I still worry that rich woman might get you fired. It's all right, Vian reassured her. I know her from the past. I just doubt she remembers me. There was a sting in her voice, but her smile remained intact as she cleaned up the broken glass and sticky mess. In just a few minutes, everything was back to normal. Back in the restroom, Nancy was furiously scrubbing the orange juice stain from her dress, muttering to herself over and over about the incident. Though the stain came out, her fury didn't. She stormed into the office of her fiancé, Fabian Marcus. He was seated at his desk, buried in stacks of company documents he needed to review. The day had barely passed halfway, but he already felt drained. Nancy's arrival didn't help. That old hag ruined my day, she fumed, pacing in front of him. Fabian sighed, tuning her out as she ranted like a broken record. And that waitress. Can you believe she didn't take my side? She should have followed me to the restroom and helped me clean up. I'm having her fired for what she did, she added, stomping her foot like a child. Fabian finally looked up. Seriously? You're going to fire someone over a soup spill? Yes, and that wasn't just any spill. That dress costs thousands. She could never afford it. Yeah, right, Fabian mumbled, rubbing his temples. He didn't argue further. He knew from experience that disagreeing would only escalate things. Nancy paused, fuming, before yelling again. "I don't get you, Fabian. You're always like this." She spun on her heel and marched out, slamming the office door behind her. The sound echoed throughout the floor, but for Fabian, it brought peace. "Finally," he whispered, returning to his work. A few hours later, his father, Carlos, barged into the office. "What did you do to Nancy this time?" "Nothing," Fabian answered, confused. "Exactly. That's the problem. You always do nothing. Whenever she's upset, you just ignore her instead of comforting her." "What's wrong with you?" Carlos scolded. Fabian took a deep breath, wanting to say so much but holding it back. He knew from years of experience that speaking up wouldn't matter. His father never listened. "Say something, Fabian," Carlos demanded, clearly disappointed. "Okay, Dad. I'll go talk to her after work. I'm sorry." "You'd better. You two will be married soon. Get your act together." "Yes, Dad. I haven't forgotten." That night, Fabian kept his word and went to Nancy's house. He invited her out, and they went shopping at a luxury boutique in a high-end mall. "Look," Nancy called from the dressing area. "This one or this one?" "Anything looks good on you," Fabian said sincerely. A nearby saleslady smiled, swooning at his soft but affectionate tone. "You're so sweet," Nancy giggled, but then pouted. "But I want the best one. Choose now." The saleslady cringed slightly. Fabian sighed. Ma'am," the saleslady said gently. "Why don't we try these on in the fitting room? I'll assist you." Nancy agreed and followed her. Fabian waited on a nearby couch. Time passed, and he started getting bored. A woman took the seat across from him. She grabbed a magazine from under the center table and flipped through the pages, sighing and leaning back. Fabian watched her movements, trying to distract himself. "Bored too?" she asked, catching him watching. "Yeah, my companion's taking forever to choose." "Same here," she replied with a sigh. "I don't get it. Same design, different color, and they act like it's a life-or-death decision." Fabian laughed. "I don't know. Maybe it's a girl thing." That question opened the door to conversation. They didn't argue, just shared stories, bounced off each other's thoughts, and laughed. "Hon, I want all of—" Nancy stopped mid-sentence when she saw Fabian laughing and talking with the woman. He didn't notice her emerge from the fitting room, too engrossed in their chat. Nancy cleared her throat loudly. Fabian noticed and quickly said goodbye to his companion before walking over to Nancy. She crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow, her glare sharp. "Let's go. I've lost my appetite for shopping. I want to go home." Fabian apologized to the saleslady and followed Nancy to the car. Once seated, she turned to him sharply. "Who was that girl? You looked like you were having more fun with her than with me. What's her name? Is she your girlfriend? Don't lie. I saw the side of her face when she came out of the boutique. Are you cheating on me, Fabian? Are you seriously cheating on me?" Fabian closed his eyes, pressing his fingers to his forehead. At the food court of the mall, Vian sat eating with her friend, Cess. "Girl, was that handsome guy you talked to earlier the same guy from the boutique?" Cess asked. Vian grinned. "Oh, the handsome one. Yeah, I talked to him earlier." "So you're the one his girlfriend freaked out over and stormed out on?" Cess teased. "Oh, stop it. What do I have to do with her tantrums? He talked to me. I couldn't exactly ignore him. Besides, we didn't even exchange names." Okay. Anyway, change topic," Cess said. As they chatted, Vian barely touched her food. She only took the sauce and a tiny piece of meat. When Cess went to the restroom, Vian pulled out a plastic bag and packed up the rest of her meal, including the free soup she'd been saving since earlier. They parted ways at the transit stop. Vian walked home through a dim path from the corner to their place, her steps light with excitement. She was happy. She had a good meal to bring home to her mom. Though tired, she was full of determination and hope that one day her sacrifices would pay off. She imagined the smile that would greet her, the smile of her mom, the one that always erased her exhaustion. As she neared their house, her steps quickened. She took longer strides, eager to reach the door. "Mom, I'm home," she called, then fell silent at the sight before her. "Martin," she muttered. On the table were 2 plates, one for her mum and one for her older brother. A plastic bag from a rotisserie chicken place lay empty, bones scattered across a greasy wrapper. There was also a near-empty bottle of soda and melted cheese left to sit. "Oh, Vian, you're home," her mum greeted. "If you're hungry, there's leftover dried fish. Just warm up some coffee and fry it." Vian's throat tightened. She forced a smile to mask her disappointment. "I brought food, Mom," she said, handing over her plastic bag. "Sweet, thanks," Martin said, nearly tripping over himself to grab it. "I barely got anything from that chicken earlier," he added. "I told Mom we should have bought 2. "Martin, seriously?" her mom scolded playfully. "I'm cooking more rice now since I know you were left hanging." Vian's chest ached. Her mom always treated Martin like royalty, even though he hardly came home. She didn't say a word. She just went to her room, sat on her bed, and buried her face in her hands. She couldn't stop the tears. She wanted to scream, but kept quiet. Despite being the one who cared for her mother daily, it was always Martin who got the attention. Since childhood, she knew he was their mom's favorite. He always got new clothes on birthdays and Christmas. Even without honors or medals like her, he always had a small cake at graduation. Martin never finished school. He failed out of college despite their parents' sacrifices. Their father died without seeing him graduate. Vian, the other hand, was a public scholar, but her mother made her stop school so Martin could have a chance. Vian gave up everything. She found a job and was fortunate to become a waitress. Her income helped them survive. Martin tried to follow. He said maybe school wasn't for him and he'd do better working, but he never lasted. He'd start a job, then quit when it got hard. Eventually, he barely came home, only showing up when he was broke or hungry. Vian kept asking herself if she was too kind, or if her thoughts were selfish. Was she being a bad daughter? Despite all this, she chose to be the good child and sibling. She told herself maybe her brother needed their mother's attention more, since he wasn't around much. At least her mom got to eat something good. At least her brother seemed okay. Hours passed, and she finally shook off the jealousy. Now she felt embarrassed. Maybe her reaction earlier had been wrong. She was about to lie down when a knock came at her door. "Vian, honey," her mum called. Vian opened the door and let her in. "Your brother's about to go to sleep," her mum said. "He wants to sleep in your room. The mattress is more comfortable. Can you sleep on the couch for now?" "What?" Vian asked, surprised. "Come on, don't be selfish. He likes soft pillows like yours," her mom added. Vian sighed. She said nothing more. She didn't even take a blanket, just used the throw pillows on the sofa. She was about to drift off when her mom came again. "Vian, I need to ask for money." Vian stared at her confused. She'd just given her mom cash days ago. "I used the money to buy the chicken today," her mom explained. "Your brother ate it all." "That chicken cost $2,000? Vian asked, her voice rising. "Keep your voice down. You'll wake your brother." Her mom hushed her. "I also bought rice, and your brother needed cash for a job application." Vian tried to calm down. "What about the water bill?" she asked. Her mom scratched her head and smiled sheepishly. "It's already on disconnection notice. They're cutting it off tomorrow. That's why I'm telling you now, so I can pay before the meter gets pulled." Vian clenched her fists. "This is my last money, Mom. I'll be walking to work tomorrow." "Well, what do you want? Walk to work or lose the water?" her mom snapped. Vian couldn't say no. She gave her the last of her money. Her mom left her alone after getting the money, but that night, the price Vian paid wasn't just her last few dollars. It was the heavy weight in her chest. She couldn't sleep. She turned over again and again, unable to rest. Every time she closed her eyes, memories rushed back. The chicken bones, her brother taking her room, her mother asking for her last money to pay the water bill. It was all too much. Eventually, Vian broke down again, sobbing silently. Her breath caught in her chest. The house suddenly felt suffocating. The air was too thin. She made a decision. She slipped out of the house and went for a walk. She ended up in a park nearby. Her face was full of sadness. She wanted to blame the universe, but she knew it wouldn't help. She tried calling people to borrow money, just enough for transportation. But it was late. No one picked up. At the park, a street mime dressed in black, with a white-painted face and a black-painted nose, performed for children. He didn't speak, only mimed their gestures and gave them candy. The kids laughed joyfully. Vian was startled when the mime tapped her on the shoulder and pretended to pull something from her ear. Instead of candy, he offered her French fries. It was getting late, and fewer kids remained. Couples began to replace them around the park. The mime sat beside Vian on a bench. "I just noticed you tonight," Vian said. "Have you been doing this for a while?" The mime nodded, then spoke in a high-pitched voice. "Of course, long time." Even though he wasn't joking, Vian burst into laughter. Something about his movements made her forget her pain. At 10 p.m., Vian went home. The mime stayed behind. She lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Her mind wandered back to everything that happened between her and her family. But remembering the mime's silly gestures made her smile. Slowly, the pain eased, and she drifted off to sleep. By 3 a.m., Vian was already awake. Her mother and brother were still fast asleep, her brother snoring loudly like a ship horn. Vian showered and dressed for work. She opened the food cover on the table, hoping for leftover rice. There was none. She sighed and left without waking anyone. She began the long walk to work, miles away with no money for fare. Her only hope was that a co-worker with a motorcycle would pass by so she could ask for a ride. After 2 hours of walking, her knees were shaking. It was 5 a.m., and she still had 2 more hours before her shift started. 30 minutes later, a tricycle passed by. It was her friend Cez, with her dad driving. "Good morning, Uncle," Vian greeted. "Bless you, dear. Hop in. We'll take you to work." "Oh, but Uncle, we're not headed the same way." Vian tried to decline. "It's fine. Come on," Cez called from the sidecar. Vian gave in and got in. "We came by your house earlier to pick you up," Cez said. "But your mom said you left early and didn't wake her. Also, I saw your brother. Didn't know he came back," she added, with a hint of sadness. "Sorry I didn't answer your call last night," Cez continued. "I fell asleep early. I got worried when I saw your missed call. Then I saw your brother and started having a bad feeling." Vian gave a faint smile. "You were right. My mom and brother must think I'm a bank, like I'll never run out of money. If I had extra, I wouldn't hesitate to lend you some," Cez said sadly. "I wish I hadn't gone shopping yesterday." "Cez, stop. You're not obligated to help me. I'm okay. Thanks for giving me a ride. It's payday today anyway." After dropping her off, Vian arrived at work 30 minutes early. Her legs still ached, but she didn't let it show. Despite everything, Vian greeted customers with her usual warm smile. She moved a little slower, but her dedication never wavered. That day, Vian managed to eat leftovers from customers, uneaten scraps left behind. There was a staff meal at lunch, but the long walk had left her starving early. She was grateful no one caught her sneaking bites. She nearly cried, feeling utterly humiliated. Why did she have to go through this? What had she done to deserve it? Why her? and not her brother. Why could he mooch off others while she struggled? With just a wave of his hand, he got what he needed. Meanwhile, no matter how hard she worked, she always came up short. She had no one at work to talk to. She was ashamed of her situation, so she held it in. In the restroom, facing the mirror, she talked to herself. Vienne, it's okay to cry, but don't give up. Don't lose hope. You only have yourself. This cycle will end. Just hold on. She stretched her lips with her fingers, molding them into a smile. Smile, Vienne. Just smile. Everything will pass. The rest of the day passed with Vienne focused on her tasks. When it was time to go home, she received her paycheck. The sound of the ATM and the sight of her hard-earned money filled her with joy. While her co-workers excitedly discussed shopping plans or where to eat out, Vienne quietly returned to the restaurant's kitchen. She sat at a corner, took out her small notebook and phone, and started listing her expenses. This is for electricity, this one for rent, and this one. Vienne, it's time to go. Why are you still here? Asked Pamela, the restaurant owner. Vienne was startled. She quickly closed her notebook, but her phone was still open with the calculator app displayed. Pamela noticed. Well, now, I didn't think I had any employees who actually knew how to budget. Looks like I've got one after all, she said with a smile. There's nothing to be ashamed of in what you're doing. It's smart, tracking where your hard-earned money goes. Vienne gave a sheepish smile and replied, Ma'am, if I don't do this, I'd always fall short. I'm the one supporting my mom and my brother. There was a quiet bitterness in Vienne's voice, but she kept her composure. Pamela nodded knowingly. But don't forget to set something aside for yourself too, even if it's just $5 or $10 each payday. Remember, in the end, the only person you can really count on is yourself, especially for those of us who are the family breadwinner. Yes, ma'am, I'll do that, Vienne replied with a grateful smile. She rarely saw or spoke to Pamela. Their only interactions before were greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Pamela had an intimidating presence. She seemed kind but distant. People said she often disguised herself as a mystery customer to see if her employees were doing their jobs properly. After that brief conversation, Vienne felt lighter. Pamela's advice felt like it came from a mother guiding her through life. Her simple words gave Vienne hope. Vienne followed her boss's advice and tried to save $10 from her pay. She tucked it away carefully. As she was leaving the restaurant, she noticed Pamela inside the VIP room, sipping wine. Vienne waved goodbye and left. She felt something strange, relief, contentment, and warmth. They say after the storm, there's calm. Vienne knew her storm wasn't over, not even close. But thanks to Pamela's encouragement and Cez's help, she felt strong enough to face it. As Vienne walked to her ride, a man suddenly pressed a knife to her back. Don't move if you want to live, he whispered. Don't scream, don't talk, just hand over your bag. That's all I want. No blood, no pain. Vienne couldn't tell if she was even breathing. She felt the cold steel against her ribs and froze in fear. The next thing she knew, the man was taking her bag. Once he had it, he walked away like nothing happened. Vienne stood still in the middle of the road, shocked. Back at the restaurant, Pamela had an unexpected visitor. She was near the VIP room, checking outlets and registers, when the door opened. We're closed, she called out. I'm VIP, said the man. I have a special pass. I can eat here any time. Pamela looked up and smiled. Fabian, son. She immediately began cooking his favorite meal, fried rice with soft-boiled egg and her own version of adobo, a signature dish on the menu. They sat together and shared the meal, catching up after weeks apart. Hi, Mom. I missed this. Late-night talks, even when I'm tired from work, even when I'm stressed. Eating here always makes me feel better. Even just fried rice makes me feel okay. Fabian said. Pamela smiled knowingly. Oh, I see where this is going. Fabian chuckled. Ma, I just wanted to say, any mom would want to cook, take care of, and hang out with her kid. Every day if possible. But if I came back home... He laughed again before finishing his sentence. Pamela lightly smacked his arm and they both laughed. Come on, you know I want to spoil you, but I get it. I really do. Fabian nodded. I know, Ma. As your son, that's all I ever wanted too. But growing up, I realized this setup might be for the best. At least both of you are happy, even if you're not together. I didn't want to keep seeing you fight. Pamela saw the sacrifice in her son's eyes. It was painful, but it was also the best decision for their peace. She was lucky her son had such a mature heart. She embraced him tightly. Thank you, son. As they sat in each other's arms, Pamela noticed a young woman outside the restaurant door. She looked closely. She was certain it was Vian. Pamela let go of Fabian and told him to wait in her office. She stepped outside. Sure enough, it was Vian. She looked exhausted, eyes puffy from crying. Vian, it's late. Why aren't you home yet? Pamela asked. Vian looked up, tearful. I got robbed, Mom. Pamela's concern was instant. She brought Vian inside, calmed her down, and cooked her a warm meal. Thankfully, there were still ingredients left in the kitchen. Once Vian had settled and regained her composure, she shared everything that had happened. Pamela felt heartbroken for her. Luckily, she had an extra phone in her office and didn't hesitate to give it to Vian, along with money for transportation and an early advance on her salary, plus some extra. Ma'am, this is too much, and it's okay. I don't need a phone, Vian said, embarrassed. Don't be silly. It's my extra phone. Better to give it to someone who'll use it than let it rot in a drawer, Pamela replied. Besides, I know you've got bills to pay. I'm not hesitant to help you because you work hard and you're responsible. So go on, take it. While Pamela and Vian talked, Fabian was in his mother's office, watching the CCTV screen. He smiled warmly at the sight. Besides the park, now I know where else I can find you, he whispered. In the end, Vian accepted Pamela's help, but insisted she would repay every cent. She promised to pay it back slowly, bit by bit. Pamela didn't argue, though she initially resisted the idea. She had come to see that Vian had a genuinely good heart. Pamela personally drove Vian home to make sure she got there safely. Vian asked to be dropped off at the corner, too embarrassed to make her boss go further. When she got home, she saw her brother eating at the table, feet up, enjoying a hot bowl of soup. There were other dishes on the table, noodles, stir-fry, and stew. She looked around, searching for her mum. Her mother was quickly setting rice on Martin's plate. Then she handed him a soda. Martin took a big gulp. Ah, that hits the spot, he said. Neither of them noticed Vian standing in the kitchen. I'm home, Vian said. Oh, hey, Martin muttered, then kept eating, stuffing his mouth with another giant spoonful of rice. Vian stared at them. She stood there for minutes, but no one invited her to eat. She turned and walked to her room to change and rest. Thank goodness Pamela had fed her, or else she would have gone to bed hungry again. As she passed by, Martin finally spoke. By the way, I'll be sleeping in your room while I'm here. You can stay on the couch. It's comfortable enough, right? He added, Oh, and I moved your jewelry box to the bathroom hallway so I can have some privacy. Vian was stunned, but couldn't fight it. All right, do what you want, she replied, her voice lifeless. So many things had happened to Vian that day, and they only seemed to be getting worse as the night deepened. She had just lain down when her mother spoke to her again. Sweetheart, you got paid today, didn't you? Are you giving us the money for the electricity and groceries? Vian handed her mother the envelope. The money was already divided. Her mother eyed the thick bundle of cash. Where's your wallet? Why does this look like more than usual? That's a lot. Maybe you can give a little extra this time, since your brother might be staying longer. He's job hunting around here now," her mum said. Vian's chest tightened. She felt like she would burst from frustration. She knew her feelings were wrong, but couldn't help how heavy they were. Still, she kept calm and didn't respond. She handed over the money for utilities and food, then returned the rest to her small bag, Pamela's gift. "That's it?" her mother asked. "Didn't you hear me earlier? Your brother's staying here. That won't be enough." "That's all I have," Vian said softly. "All? That envelope's thick with bills. Are you being stingy with me now?" her mom accused. "Your brother treats me better than you do. He buys me what I want, and he doesn't even have a job. But you, with your stable job, can't even buy me candy. You only bring home scraps. I'm disappointed in you." Vian was stunned. After all her sacrifices, those were her mother's words. "Fine, never mind. We'll just make do with what we've got. Thanks for the budget," her mum added bitterly. "Don't worry, I won't bring up the money again." Her mum walked back to her room. Vian sat frozen in the living room. She didn't know who was in the wrong anymore, her mum, or her brother. Meanwhile, Fabian had just gotten home. Though tired from driving, he felt peaceful after seeing his mom again. But as soon as he entered, his father was waiting in the living room. "You went to see your mother again," Carlos said, eyes fixed on his phone. "Dad," Fabian said, approaching him. "I told you, that woman is a bad influence. She's not a good mother. Who abandons her family to open a restaurant? What does she want? To live like a single woman." Fabian wanted to defend his mother. She wasn't what his father made her out to be. As a child, he had believed Carlos's accusations, that she had a man, that she couldn't stay home to take care of them, that she refused to live within the walls of their house. Those ideas had stayed with him for years. But as he grew older, his perspective changed. In college, he once saw his mother handing out flyers for her newly opened restaurant. He ignored her, even when she called out to him. That night, guilt consumed him. Part of him believed he'd done the right thing, but another part whispered that he should have at least acknowledged her. The next day, he found himself standing in front of her restaurant. He had no courage to enter until one of the employees welcomed him, offering food and drinks. They didn't know who he was, but it felt like they did. His favorite fried rice and soft-boiled egg were served to him without a word. "Thank you. How much is all this?" he asked. The employee smiled. "Why would we charge the son of the owner?" "You know who I am?" Fabian asked. "Of course. Your mom always talks about you. Her things are labeled with your name, especially in her office. Your photos are everywhere. When I saw you outside, I knew exactly who you were," they said proudly. "Oops, break time," the employee added cheerfully. Fabian didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but a small smile formed on his lips. "The food you ate? Your mom cooked it herself, from chopping the ingredients to planning the dish. But she didn't want you to know. She thought you might not eat it if you knew it came from her," the employee added. Fabian's heart warmed. He remembered the good times with his mom. The pain he had carried started to fade. Still, he hadn't been ready to face her back then. Days passed, and he kept returning to her restaurant. Eventually, he found the courage to talk to her. He requested to meet, and when Pamela found out, she was unsure what to do. Should she dress up, fix her office, prepare his favorite food? Her employees teased her. When the day came, Pamela wore a simple blouse and slacks. She prepared Fabian's favorite fried rice and gave strict instructions not to disturb them. Fabian arrived. The office door had a sign, "Strangers not allowed," just like the one on his old bedroom. He laughed. Inside, the office was painted blue, his favorite color. It was clean and cozy. Action figures were displayed, just like the ones they used to collect. Every wall was covered with photos of him. School graduations, contests, even holiday snapshots, all taken from afar. "You like it?" Pamela asked, kneading her fingers nervously. "I got the photos from our housekeepers. I asked them to take pictures during events. Sometimes I was even there, watching you from a distance," she said, holding back tears. "If you don't like them, I'll take them down," she added. Why did you leave me?" Fabian asked, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Pamela's tears finally fell. "I'm sorry. I never blamed your dad. I took the blame. I loved you and your father so much, but I had to leave, for everyone's good. Believe whatever your father told you, but just remember this. I never stopped loving you. Not once." Eventually, Fabian learned the truth. His father had treated his mother like a servant. The house staff had known but kept silent at Pamela's request. She had suffered emotional and physical abuse, never on her face, but always in places hidden by clothes or scarves. One night, after a dinner guest complimented her cooking, Carlos accused her of cheating and nearly strangled her. Fabian, just a child, had been the one who saved her. That same night, she left. She wanted to take Fabian with her, but she couldn't give him the life Carlos could. So with a broken heart, she walked away. Years later, she had worked abroad, saved enough money, and returned to open a restaurant, with a menu full of dishes they once enjoyed together. Fabian was overwhelmed with emotion and forgave her. Carlos eventually found out. He was furious. Any time someone discovered Fabian's connection to Pamela, he punished her employees. To protect them, Pamela kept her identity a secret. Whenever Fabian visited in secret, his father hurled insults about Pamela. But Fabian stayed silent. His mother had taught him that Carlos was still his father, and he should respect him. After one such tirade, Carlos suddenly brought up Fabian and Nancy's wedding. "Any progress?" Fabian blinked. "About what?" "Your wedding. It's been months. We're announcing it soon. Don't tell me you haven't even started the preparations." "It's going fine. We have a meeting with the coordinator next week." "Good. And by the way, those proposals and company papers in the office, take care of them. I don't want to hear you're falling behind." Carlos's tone was firm. Fabian sighed heavily. It was exhausting, being Carlos's son and Nancy's fiancé. That night, both Fabian and Vian sat separately, both weighed down by their own problems. Vian by her family, Fabian by his parents. They ended up in the same park. Vian sat on a bench, lost in thought. Tears streamed down her face as she cried silently, yearning for the comfort and love she never got. A person approached and offered her a tissue. She looked up and saw someone in a full-body green Power Ranger suit, mask and all. Instead of crying harder, Vian burst into laughter. "Wait, are you that mime from yesterday?" she asked, still laughing. "Yes, that was me," the man replied. "But now I'm not a mime, I'm—" He leapt backward and struck a pose. "The Green Ranger!" Vian laughed until her stomach hurt. Just like their first meeting, this mysterious man's silliness lifted her burdens, if only for a while. The two laughed together. After a while, the man sat beside Vian on the bench, panting from all his jumping and movements just to make her smile. His costume was hot, and breathing through the mask wasn't easy, but he endured it. To him, Vian was the only one who truly saw his worth. "Earlier, why were you crying?" he asked. Vian looked down. "Family problems," she answered quietly. The man felt a pang of guilt. He wished he hadn't asked. He quickly thought of something to lighten her mood. "Hey, you know, they say when you talk about your problems to someone, even a stranger, it doesn't solve them, but it helps. It feels lighter, especially when it's with someone who won't judge you, like me," he said. "You're serious? You'll listen to me?" Vian asked. "Of course, but here, so you won't be shy. I won't take off my mask. I'm still the Green Power Ranger, and don't worry about me suffocating. There's a hole for my nose. See? He pointed to the tiny hole in the mask. Vian laughed again, more at ease now. She opened up and began telling him everything. Though her voice cracked and tears welled in her eyes, the man listened quietly, throwing in the occasional joke or comment to cheer her up. Eventually, the bench they were sitting on became a regular meeting spot. Every night, before going home, Vian would go to the park. The man, sometimes fully costumed, sometimes wearing only a simple mask, would be waiting. His antics always brought laughter. When she was with him, Vian felt her burdens lift. Time flew, and sometimes they'd talk until sunrise. Well, guess we'll see each other again tomorrow, the man said, one evening, glancing at his watch. Yeah, thanks for keeping me company, Vian replied with a smile, staring into his masked eyes, trying to catch a glimpse of the person behind them. He wore a white mask that night, with a hoodie and loose jeans, street style. No problem. For you, anytime. Now go on, head home, he said. As she walked away, he stood there watching her. Their rule was clear. They couldn't know each other's names, jobs, or addresses. Only their stories and that bench connected them. Once she was out of sight, the man pulled off his mask. Fabian! A voice called from behind him. Startled, Fabian turned and saw his mother. Ma, what are you doing here? I wasn't here long, she replied, but I saw you asking someone something earlier. Who is she? She's pretty. Where did you meet? Why are you in costume just to meet her? Ma, Fabian said, embarrassed. Pamela sat beside him. He removed the mask and took a deep breath. I think I'm in love with her, he said seriously. The next day at lunch, Fabian sat across from Nancy during a meeting with their wedding coordinator. Nancy sighed. It's so rude to keep yawning in front of the food. Didn't you sleep? Sorry, just tired. 1 cup of coffee should fix it, Fabian said, tapping his cheeks to stay awake. Pull yourself together before the coordinator gets here, she warned. I want this wedding to be perfect, so cooperate. Fabian sighed and sipped his coffee. The coordinator arrived with ideas, from church decor to sample souvenirs. Everything was well presented, but Fabian's exhaustion made it hard to focus. The coordinator's gentle voice almost lulled him to sleep. His head bobbed from drowsiness. What do you think, hun? Nancy asked. Fabian forced his eyes open and answered, though his choice was ignored. Nancy picked the souvenir she preferred anyway, even the tablecloth colors. He was asked to choose, but it was still her decision in the end. The coordinator noticed Fabian's quiet demeanor and lack of enthusiasm. She felt sorry for him, but knew it wasn't her place to interfere. As the meeting went on, Fabian nodded off. Nancy noticed and couldn't contain herself anymore. Really, Fabian? We're planning our wedding, and you're falling asleep? She snapped. The coordinator paused mid-sentence, lips tight. She could feel the heat of Nancy's anger. We've already rescheduled this meeting several times. You're always busy. What now, Fabian? Are we even going through with this? Her voice rose with every word. Fabian stirred awake. Nancy, stop, he said, voice low. Nancy froze. Fabian turned to the coordinator. Miss, sorry about this. Please go ahead and leave. We'll contact you once we've sorted things out. The coordinator nodded politely. No worries, sir. She gathered her things and exited. It was a Sunday. Fabian didn't need to return to the office. He called up a friend. Hey, have you been waiting long? Cez asked as she met Vian at the food court. Vian looked sleepy, dark circles under her eyes. You didn't sleep? Cez asked. Got home late. Couldn't sleep right away, Vian replied. Or maybe you stayed up thinking about your park friend, Cez teased. Vian refused to tell Cez about the guy who always made her laugh, gave her advice, and lightened her burden every night. You can't fall for someone you haven't even seen, right? Vian asked. I don't even know his real voice. I don't even know his name. How could I possibly like him? Girl, love doesn't need requirements, Cease said. That's why it's called a mystery. Vian thought deeply about that. As they ate, Cez shared stories from her recent work assignments. When she mentioned Nancy Ramos, Vian's attention sharpened. You know Ms. Nancy Ramos? Yeah, here, look, Cez said, showing her a photo. Vian grinned at first glance. Oh, I know her. I've known her since we were kids. She hasn't changed a bit. Back at the restaurant, Fabian and Nancy were still sitting together. Nancy immediately began complaining again. You sent the coordinator away so you could leave too, right? Isn't that what this is? Her voice grew louder, disturbing other diners. Fabian tried to calm her. Nancy, please lower your voice. Aren't you embarrassed? I don't care. These people don't matter. You know what does? That you don't care about this wedding. Or about me. A woman approached their table. Mom, is there a problem? Nancy turned. And who are you? I'm the manager here. If you wouldn't mind, could you take your conversation outside? Some of our customers are being disturbed. Nancy scoffed. Who do you think you are? You're just a worker. Want me to pay everyone's bill here just to shut them up? I'm a customer. I can do what I want. Nancy, stop, Fabian said, grabbing her wrist and trying to pull her out. Let go of me. Guard! A security guard came and held Nancy firmly. She couldn't escape his grip. Even as she was dragged out, she continued yelling. Inside, Fabian remained. I'm very sorry, he said to the manager, Pamela. That's strike two for Nancy, Pamela replied. I never liked her. Why of all people are you marrying someone like that? Mum, please don't make this worse, Fabian said, wearied. Pamela felt pity and backed off. Okay, but son, what about the girl in the park? Does she know about Nancy? Fabian sighed deeply. No, Mom, she doesn't. You need to clean this up, Fabian. You're about to marry someone you don't love. And what about the girl in the park? You have to choose. Either way, someone's going to get hurt. Fabian left the restaurant, heavy-hearted. Nancy didn't recognize Pamela as Fabian's mother, nor did she know the woman she had just screamed at would have been her future mother-in-law. She saw Fabian and immediately resumed her tirade. What took you so long? What were you doing in there? You don't need to yell. I'm right here. I need to yell because otherwise, you don't listen. You don't care how I feel. You just do whatever you want. Fabian's patience wore thin. Everything she was saying was the opposite of the truth. Nancy kept ranting, louder and louder, until Fabian snapped. Nancy, do you even hear yourself? You're saying I don't care. Tell me, who made all the decisions about this wedding? You did. Even down to the tablecloth color. Did you ever stop to ask what I wanted? Nancy was stunned. It was the first time Fabian had ever raised his voice. He walked away, got in his car, and drove off, leaving her standing alone in the parking lot. It was still early, sunset hadn't even arrived, yet Fabian was already sitting on the park bench where he and Vian used to meet. Unlike before, he wasn't wearing a playful costume or a mask, just a plain face mask now, his hoodie pulled up. He sat staring blankly at the horizon, the sky turning orange. What is going on with my life? He muttered, eyes fixed on the fading sun. After Fabian had stormed off, Nancy had called his father, Carlos, and told him everything. Not long after, Carlos called Fabian, furious. His voice thundered through the phone. If only hands could reach through the speaker, Fabian knew his father would have grabbed him by the collar. He knew he had made mistakes. He shouldn't have gone to that wedding planning meeting with barely any sleep. He shouldn't have shouted at Nancy. But he was human. He got tired. He lost patience. Deep in thought, Fabian didn't even realize he had fallen asleep on the bench. Elsewhere, Vian had just stepped out of the tricycle she rode with Cez. "Looks like it's nearly dawn," Cez teased. "Meeting your mystery guy again?" "Oh, please. Want to trade places with me and have a mum who's all favoritism and a freeloader brother?" "You'd run away too," Vian replied with a tired smile. Okay, I get it. Just be careful, all right?" Cez said. Vian assumed she'd get to the park before the guy, but to her surprise, a man was already asleep on their usual bench. She felt a little disappointed. Where would she sit and wait now? But then, something made her stop and look closer. She found herself drawn to him. He was asleep, leaning back with his face turned slightly away. She stared at his closed eyes. "There you are," Vian whispered to herself. Her heart thudded. Her mind flashed to what Cez had said. Could she really be falling for someone she didn't even know? Her hand moved on its own, slowly reaching for the man's face mask. Her heart pounded as her fingers brushed against it. She hesitated. What if it wasn't him? What if she was wrong? Still, her fingers inched closer, trembling. Just as she was about to pull the mask down, the man opened his eyes. "Oh, you're here already," he said, casually. Vian froze, mortified. She pulled her hand back, face burning with embarrassment. He laughed, and she joined him, chuckling at herself. "Maybe it's okay I didn't see your face," Vian said, regaining composure. "Maybe, who knows, you might see my real face and change your mind," he replied. "What are you doing here so early? Something wrong?" she asked. For the first time, Vian was the one asking questions. "Yeah, there's a problem," he admitted. "You can tell me, it's okay," she encouraged. Fabian opened up. He talked about his fiancée, the selfishness, the pressure, the wedding. Vian listened quietly, though every word felt like a knife. Her heart ached, though she didn't know why. She didn't know what to call the feeling. Envy? Jealousy? Was it hurt? Was she falling for someone who already belonged to someone else? Still, she stayed silent and let him talk. "Do you love her?" she asked. "She says she saved me once when we were kids. I owed her my life. That's why I agreed to marry her," he replied. "So the wedding is like paying off a debt?" she asked. "Something like that," he sighed. "That's tough. But sometimes you have to think about what makes you happy. Don't live for someone else's expectations. They're not the ones who have to live with your decisions. You are. Maybe I'm just confused. Maybe I do love her. Maybe I don't. I don't know anymore," Fabian said. After that emotional conversation, they changed topics. The night had been heavy enough. "Thanks," Fabian said. "Even though we don't know each other's names or faces, you're always here. You trust me." "It's nothing," Vian replied with a soft smile. "Let's just say, this is my way of returning the favor. For all those nights you were there for me." Above them, the sky was clear. Stars twinkled and the full moon glowed. Unbeknownst to them, Nancy stood hidden behind a tree nearby, watching. "How dare she? How dare she steal Fabian from me?" Nancy hissed. "She'll pay for this." Monday arrived. Vian was visibly low-spirited, even though the night before had ended on a sweet note. She couldn't stop thinking about the fact that the man she talked to might already be getting married. Maybe it was her fault for agreeing to not learn his name or identity. Despite feeling down, she did her best to work hard as always. Later that afternoon, the restaurant filled up with customers. Everyone was busy, including Vian. Suddenly, without warning, Nancy barged in, grabbed Vian by the hair, and yanked her toward the front of the restaurant. "You slut!" Nancy screamed. "Wait, ow! Stop! What are you doing?" Vian cried out, struggling. Everyone turned to look. Chaos erupted. Nancy, full of rage, wanted nothing more than to humiliate Vian in front of everyone. What did I ever do to you, Nancy? Why are you doing this? Vian asked, trying to break free. Oh, don't play innocent. You seduced my fiancé behind my back with that sweet little face of yours. You think you can steal him from me in secret? Be a real woman and fight fair. Nancy's fury showed in every word. Her grip on Vian's hair tightened. Vian didn't even understand what was happening. They hadn't spoken in years. Even when Nancy once berated an elderly woman at the restaurant, Vian had acted like she didn't know her, just to keep the peace. Now she didn't know what Nancy was raging about. While the commotion continued, Vian's co-workers ran to inform Pamela. She came out right away and was shocked by what she saw. Nancy, please stop. Don't create another scene in my restaurant, Pamela said firmly. Nancy turned to her, still gripping Vian. I know you, and FYI, we're not close, so don't use my first name. You're just a manager here, she sneered. Vian looked to Pamela, stunned. Pamela took a deep breath. She held back every harsh word she wanted to throw. Nancy, Fabian yelled as he rushed into the restaurant. Everyone turned to look. It felt like a scene from a movie. Well, well, look who came running, Nancy mocked. Just earlier you were so brave, talking about breaking up with me. Now here you are, chasing after me just to defend your little side chick. She jabbed a finger toward Vian. Fabian grabbed Nancy's wrist and tried to pull her away again, but she resisted. What? Ashamed that everyone might find out you're a cheater? Face the consequences of your actions. You two think I won't expose you? Vian turned to Pamela, nearly in tears. Ma'am, please believe me. I don't know what she's talking about, she pleaded. Pamela didn't speak, just gave Vian a long, unreadable look. Vian trembled. She didn't know how to defend herself. She hadn't done anything, but she might still lose her job over the scandal. Pamela turned to Fabian. Can you please calm this woman down and explain to me what's going on? She said, her tone sharp. Fabian winced. He could tell his mother was furious. He nodded and said he'd take Nancy to the office to talk once she had calmed down. Half an hour later, they were inside the office. Fabian and Nancy sat opposite Vian, with Pamela in front of them. Fabian, explain, Pamela said seriously. Fabian took a deep breath, ready to speak, but Nancy cut in. Why do we need to explain anything to her? She's not worth our time. Why are we even saving her reputation? She's a tramp. I know her. She's always been jealous of me. She's just trying to get back at me because I've always been better, prettier, smarter, everything. Nancy's voice shook with fury. She's doing all this because she's bitter. Remember when she pushed you into the pool as a kid? Because she was jealous? And now she's trying to ruin my fairy tale life. Vian couldn't believe what she was hearing. So that's what this was all about? Oh, come on, Nancy, Vian replied. You and I both know the truth. You pushed that kid into the pool, and I saved him. But your parents didn't want you in trouble, so they blamed me. They paid my parents to stay quiet. She looked straight at Nancy. Even after we protected you, this is how you repay me? Fabian sat back, stunned. So you're the one, the kid who saved me? He asked. Vian turned to him. Yes, that was me. Fabian's memories clicked into place. I knew it. The memories, the images, they were real. I always had a feeling, and now it's clear. That means I don't owe you anything, Nancy. He beamed with joy. I was right all along. Nancy was in disbelief. So you're choosing her over me? After everything? Yes. All my life I thought I owed you for saving me. But I remember now. It wasn't you. It was her. You lied to me. Vian smiled weakly. Fabian's eyes lit up with clarity, as if he'd just stepped out of the dark. And then Nancy said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. So you're the guy I saw in the park. You wore that face mask to hide from me while you flirted with her. Vian's eyes widened. You're the man from the park? She asked, shocked. Fabian didn't deny it. In fact, he pulled out a face mask from his pocket, put it on, and did the same silly pose he always did. It's me. Before he could say more, a loud slap echoed in the room. Vienne had struck him. She walked out, and everyone inside the office stood frozen. Pamela looked at her son. So now what? She asked. I don't know. It's all my fault, Fabian said, slumped in guilt. Wait, is this for real? Nancy asked. You two didn't even know who each other really were? No one answered. Fabian stood and walked toward the door. This means there's no wedding, he said. You can't do this, Nancy shrieked. Yes, I can. I've made up my mind. Pamela stepped forward. And for the record, I never approved of your marriage, so no matter what you do, this wedding is off. Then, turning to security, she said, Please escort Miss Nancy out. And make sure she never sets foot in this restaurant again. Next time she causes a scene, she'll be escorted straight to the police. Because of her own rage, Nancy had unintentionally exposed everything, from the real pool incident to Fabian's secret meetings in the park. Her outburst had opened Fabian's eyes and given him the courage to finally speak his truth. But in the process, it shattered Vienne. She fled from the restaurant, running as though the sky had collapsed on her. When she got home, her mother was watching TV. Vienne entered the house crying, but her mother didn't even ask why. She just kept watching. Vienne locked herself in her room. Fortunately, her brother wasn't there. She collapsed onto her bed and sobbed uncontrollably. The pain was too much. She couldn't understand how everything had fallen apart so quickly. As she cried, something hard pressed into her stomach beneath the blanket. She pulled back the covers and found her wallet, along with her IDs. It was hidden under her bedding. Her heart sank. Even her own brother had betrayed her. Panicked and hurt, she packed her bag in a frenzy. She no longer thought rationally, just the need to leave, to get out, to escape. Vienne, where are you going? Her mom asked as she neared the door. Wait, before you leave, can I ask for some money? Your brother needs it for a job application. Enough, Mom, Vienne snapped. I'm not a bank. You don't get to withdraw whenever you want. I have limits. And when did you learn to talk back to me? Her mother shouted. You pushed me to this, Mom. I'm at my breaking point. I came home crying, and you didn't even ask why. You just asked for money again. All you care about is my paycheck. You didn't ask if I was okay. Her mother fell silent. If you need money, go ask Martin. The money he's been showing off with, that was mine. I was mugged and he stole from me. Next payday he'll probably steal from me again so he can keep pretending he has cash. I'm done. I'd rather sleep on the street than stay here with leeches, Vienne shouted. And with that she left, carrying her things and all the bitterness in her heart. She went straight to César's house and collapsed in her friend's arms, crying out all the pain she had bottled up. Meanwhile, Fabian reflected on everything that had happened. He wished he had introduced himself properly from the beginning. Maybe then none of this would have happened. He blamed himself for everything, for staying silent, for lacking the courage to speak up when it mattered most. He finally understood why his mom had walked away long ago. At least she had the strength to follow her own heart. He didn't. He had grown up spineless, voiceless, with no control over his own life. He nearly slammed his head into the steering wheel, crying from guilt until someone knocked on the car window. It was his mom. Ma! He sobbed. Pamela got in and comforted him. She had brought his favorite meal, fried rice, adobo, and a soft-boiled egg. The smell filled the car, but neither of them cared. Oh, my son, being fought over by two women, Pamela teased gently. Ma, I don't know what to do anymore, Fabian muttered. It's because you're too good-looking. That's a problem only handsome guys have, she joked. But seriously, she continued, what are you going to do? Fabian paused. I want to find Vian, apologize. Even if she slaps me again or pushes me away, I won't give up until she forgives me. I want to choose for myself now. I want to choose happiness." Pamela smiled. For the first time, she saw her son smiling too. "But Ma, am I doing the right thing? What about Nancy? What about Dad?" Fabian asked, conflicted. Pamela held his hand. "Since I left, you've had too much on your plate. Let me help carry some of that weight now." Fabian's heart lightened. He took a few days off to let things settle. He stayed with his mum and avoided his father. He knew Vian still had no idea about his connection to Pamela, and he wanted to find the right moment to talk to her and explain. Vian, meanwhile, still visited the park. She still sat at their usual bench, but only for a few minutes before leaving. She never stayed long anymore. Finally, Fabian mustered the courage. One evening, he appeared before her. No mask, no costume, no silly voice. Just himself. "Hi," he greeted. Vian stared, surprised. "I'm Fabian," he said. "What's your name?" Vian couldn't help but smile. "Vian." "Can I sit with you?" he asked. "Of course," she said. "Maybe we can start over this time, properly." He apologized sincerely for his cowardice, for not telling the truth sooner, and for not revealing his feelings the right way. "I love you, Vian, and this time, I want to start things right." Vian blushed, but finally let go of her pride. "I was just angry because I couldn't admit it. I'd already fallen for you, even without knowing your name, your face, or your voice, so I want to start right too." From a distance, Pamela watched them, grinning. "I was going to set you two up myself. Looks like fate beat me to it," she whispered to herself. As Vian and Fabian talked on the park bench, the night sky above them seemed to listen in silence. A breeze passed gently between them, soft, warm, and full of promise. Later that week, Vian returned to work. She was unsure how people would look at her after the recent chaos. To her surprise, her co-workers welcomed her with open arms. Pamela had explained everything, clearing Vian's name and assuring everyone she had done nothing wrong. Pamela also promoted Vian to a higher position at the restaurant. Vian resisted at first, not wanting special treatment, but Pamela insisted. She had long been observing Vian's dedication and honesty, and the promotion was well-deserved. Vian's mother, upon realizing what she had lost, came to see her at the restaurant. But Vian was no longer the same girl who had kept quiet through years of silent pain. "Mum, I'm not coming back home," she said. "I've forgiven you, but I won't be your doormat anymore. I'll help from afar, but I'm going to live my life now. I'm finally choosing myself." Her mother stood speechless, but deep inside, she knew Vian meant it, and maybe, just maybe, she had truly lost her daughter's love and trust. As for her brother Martin, he eventually left again, wandering off in search of another shortcut in life. Vian, finally at peace, began saving money for herself. She rented a small apartment not too far from the restaurant. She furnished it slowly, a chair here, a table there. Bit by bit, it became home. Sometimes Pamela would drop by, bringing food and chatting like a second mother. Fabian visited too, but they took their time. No rush, no pressure. Just honest, growing affection. Every now and then, they still met at the park. Sometimes in masks, just for fun. Sometimes not. One night, as they sat under the stars, Fabian turned to her. "Still wish we'd never met in costume?" he teased. Vian laughed. "Actually, I'm glad we did. It made all the difference." They sat side by side, their hands brushing, hearts lighter than they had ever been before. The world didn't magically become perfect. Life still had bills, long shifts, and rainy days. But now, Vian walked through it no longer alone, no longer voiceless. She had found her smile, and kept it. The end.